Picture the most capable off-road vehicle you've ever seen in your head. Whatever it is, G-Wagon, Land Cruiser, Bronco, Defender, I want you to hold that image. Because what I'm about to show you is going to make that vehicle look like it belongs in a museum. There is an SUV that just came out of China. It has 4 independent electric motors, one for every single wheel. It produces over 1,300 horsepower. It can spin a full 360 degrees on its own axis without moving an inch forward or backward. And it can travel 870 miles without stopping to charge. Not 870 kilometers, 870 miles. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly why this thing doesn't just beat the competition. It makes the entire off-road industry look like it's been playing with toys. Stay with me, because the engineering here goes deeper than any spec sheet. Let's start with something nobody in the car industry likes to admit. The formula for a serious off-road vehicle hasn't really changed in about 50 years. You take a heavy steel ladder frame, you bolt on a loud V8 or a torquey diesel. You add locking differentials, maybe a transfer case, and you slap a 6-figure price tag on the whole thing. That's it. That was the entire playbook. And for decades, it worked. Buyers accepted it. Enthusiasts worshipped it. And the brands that owned that formula, Mercedes, Land Rover, Toyota, Jeep, made billions defending it. Nobody questioned the foundation because nobody had a reason to, until now. The vehicle that just blew that formula apart is called the Jetour Traveler 8. It's also referenced internally as the T3 concept. And the brand behind it, Jetour, is one most people in the West still haven't heard of. That's a mistake. Because this company is moving faster than almost anything else happening in the automotive world right now. Jetour was launched in 2018 as an off-road and adventure-focused sub-brand under Chery Automobile, one of China's largest and most established automakers. And here is a number that should stop you in your tracks. In January of 2024, Jetour rolled their 1 millionth vehicle off the production line. 1 million units in 65 months. That is not a startup experiment. That is a manufacturing machine running at full speed with very clear intent. Their lineup already spans affordable crossovers, plug-in hybrid SUVs, and fully electric flagship concepts. Their T2 was designed with input from a former Porsche designer. Their G700 is a full luxury SUV with specs that would embarrass half of what's on sale in Europe right now. And sitting at the very top of their technical ambitions is the Traveler 8, the T3 concept that the world just got its first real look at. But here's what I need you to understand before we get into the actual engineering. This is not a halo car made for a motor show that will never reach production. This is a signal. This is Jetour drawing a line in the sand and saying, this is where off-road capability is going, and we're leading it there. Let me show you exactly why. To understand why the Traveler 8 is so different, you first need to understand what every traditional 4x4 actually does under the hood, and why that system has fundamental limitations nobody has ever fully solved. In a conventional off-roader, power flows in a chain. Engine to transmission, transmission to transfer case. Transfer case splits torque between the front axle and the rear axle. And within each axle, a differential distributes power between the left and right wheels. The whole system is mechanical. It has physical weak points, thermal limits, response delays, and a ceiling of precision that's baked into the laws of physics. Hit the wrong obstacle at the wrong angle and one wheel loses grip. The mechanical system has to respond, but it can only respond as fast as metal and fluid will allow. That's not fast enough. Not anymore. The Traveler 8 throws that entire century-old chain out completely. It is built on what Jetour calls the Kunlun platform, and it runs a quad-motor architecture. That means 4 independent 250-kilowatt electric motors, one dedicated to each individual wheel. There is no shared differential between the left and right wheels. There is no mechanical connection between the front axle and the rear axle. Each wheel has its own motor, its own power source, its own brain. Combined output across all four motors. Over 1,300 horsepower, 0 to 60 miles per hour, approximately 3 seconds. That is supercar acceleration in a machine built to crawl boulders at walking pace. But here's the thing, and I need you to hear this clearly. The horsepower number is actually the least impressive part of this vehicle. The reason the quad motor setup is a genuine revolution for off-road use specifically comes down to something called torque vectoring. And in the Traveler 8, torque vectoring isn't a mechanical system, it's a computational one. Because each wheel has its own dedicated motor, the vehicle's AI control system can calculate exactly how much grip each individual tire has at any given moment, and it does this hundreds of times per second. Then it distributes exactly the right amount of torque to each wheel in real time, in milliseconds, without the driver touching anything. Think about what that actually means in the field. Say your front left wheel is planted on solid rock. The other three are spinning in deep mud and getting nothing. In a traditional 4x4, you are stuck. You're manually engaging lockers, pumping the throttle, hoping the mechanical system responds before you slide sideways off the trail. In the Traveler 8, the AI has already identified the one wheel with traction and is already sending it the torque before you even register the problem. No input required, no delay, no mechanical limitation. And then there's the rear wheel steering. The rear wheels on the Traveler 8 can pivot independently. Combined with the quad motor system, the vehicle can spin the left side wheels forward while the right side wheels spin in reverse simultaneously. What that produces is a full 360-degree pivot. The entire vehicle rotates on its own axis. No forward movement, no backward movement, just rotation. In place. Now, some people hear tank turn and they think gimmick. They think party trick. But if you have ever tried to navigate a narrow mountain trail with a sheer cliff on one side and a rock face on the other, where there is physically no room to do a three-point turn, that capability goes from interesting to life-saving very quickly. This is engineering that solves a real problem in a way that wasn't possible before. And if you thought that was impressive, we're only halfway through what this vehicle can do, because the feature that might matter most hasn't even come up yet. Here's the honest truth about electric off-roaders that nobody in the EV marketing world wants to say out loud. Range anxiety in remote terrain is genuinely dangerous. Not inconvenient, dangerous. The Hummer EV weighs close to 9,000 pounds, and in real-world conditions delivers somewhere between 260 and 330 miles of range depending on speed and terrain. The Rivian R1T is genuinely good, but the moment you're 3 hours deep into a mountain pass with no cell signal and the battery warning lights up, that's a real problem. There are no DC fast chargers in the backcountry. If you run out of electrons in the wrong place, you're not calling roadside assistance, you're calling search and rescue. Jetour looked at this problem and built something called an ERV drivetrain, extended range electric vehicle. And I want to be very precise here, because this is not a hybrid in the way most people think of a hybrid. Hidden inside the Traveler 8 is a conventional internal combustion engine. But here is the critical detail. That engine has zero mechanical connection to the wheels. It never drives the vehicle directly. Its only function is to act as an onboard generator, burning fuel at its peak thermal efficiency point to produce electricity, which flows directly into the battery pack and feeds the four motors. The wheels are always driven electrically. Always. What this gives you is the instant torque, the zero lag, the computational precision of a pure electric drivetrain combined with the refueling flexibility of a combustion vehicle. You can stop at any gas station on the planet. You can carry a jerry can in the cargo bed. You have options that a pure EV simply cannot offer in the middle of nowhere. With a fully charged battery and a full tank of fuel combined, the Traveler 8 has a total range of 870 miles. That is approximately 1,400 kilometers without stopping. To put that in perspective, that is driving from Los Angeles to Denver and still having range to spare. on a single fill-up in a vehicle built for extreme terrain. The range anxiety argument, the single biggest weapon critics had against electric off-roaders, is gone. Jetour just deleted it from the conversation. And there's one more thing the Traveler 8 can do that most people are sleeping on. It supports V2L vehicle-to-load. The battery pack can power external equipment directly from the vehicle. Electric grills, floodlights, power tools, space heaters, full camping setups. When you make camp, the Traveler 8 becomes a mobile power station. The battery alone can run all of that equipment for days before the engine even needs to start. This vehicle doesn't just take you into the wilderness. It powers your life while you're there. Now let me talk about what the Traveler 8 looks like, because the design is not accidental. The exterior is what I'd call aggressively tactical. High ground clearance, widened track, squared-off geometry, a presence that reads less like an SUV and more like a piece of military equipment that got lost on its way to a conflict zone. It doesn't try to be pretty. It tries to look capable, and it succeeds. Here's where I'm going to give you my actual take, because I think what's happening here matters far beyond just one vehicle from one brand. For 50 years, the benchmark for serious off-road capability was set in Stuttgart, Solihull, Detroit, and Nagoya. Mercedes, Land Rover, Jeep, Toyota. They defined what a proper off-roader was, what it cost, and what you could reasonably expect from it. They built heritage around that definition. They charged six-figure prices to defend it, and in many cases, they were selling you technology that hadn't fundamentally evolved since the 1970s. Meanwhile, Chinese automakers were quietly working on the engineering problems that Western brands were too comfortable, too slow, or too risk-averse to solve. And the results are becoming impossible to ignore. Jetour's sibling flagship, the Zongheng G700, takes a similarly ambitious philosophy and pushes it in a remarkable direction. That vehicle produces 892 horsepower from its plug-in hybrid system. It runs 800-volt electrical architecture, and it is genuinely amphibious, capable of crossing open water, as it demonstrated when it crossed the Yangtze River in 22 minutes. Not wade through water, cross it. That is the trajectory Jetour is on. The Traveler 8 is not a one-off stunt. It is one point in a very deliberate upward curve. The Western response to electric off-roading has largely been to take legacy platforms designed around combustion engines, bolt battery packs onto them, and call that innovation. The result, in almost every case, is a vehicle that is heavier than it should be, more compromised than it needs to be, with range that doesn't justify the trade-offs, and a price tag that assumes you have no other choice. China looked at the same problem from a different angle entirely. Torque vectoring, a software problem. Steering geometry, a computation problem. Range anxiety, an energy architecture problem. Every single weakness in the electric off-road category got a proper engineering answer built from the ground up, not a patch, not a retrofit, a solution. I think we are watching a permanent shift in who leads the off-road segment, and I say that without any agenda attached to it. When one side of the industry is still iterating on axle technology that's been around for 100 years, and the other side is deploying AI-driven quad-motor systems with 1,400 kilometers of range. The direction of travel is not ambiguous. So what does this actually mean for you as someone who buys, drives, or cares about serious off-road vehicles? Will every Land Cruiser loyalist immediately trade their V8 diesel for a Chinese electric tank? No. Loyalty is real. Culture is real. Brand heritage takes decades to build, and Jetour is still a relatively unfamiliar name in Western markets. That's a genuine gap. But here's the part people keep underestimating. That gap is closing faster than almost anyone expected. Jetour already has a significant presence in the UAE, across Southeast Asia, through Latin America, and into multiple African markets. They are entering new regions every single quarter. The production capacity is there. The engineering credibility is there. And the price advantage over equivalent Western flagships when the Traveler 8 eventually reaches production is expected to be significant. The Traveler 8 gives Jetour a technology flagship, a vehicle that says, "This is what we're capable of."